aside from all the birthdays this week and this month, you guys have been going over usability tests and how to conduct them and kind of practicing with that. So today we're going to go over how to analyze all the data that you collect from um, conducting usability tests. And it's not really anything super complicated. Pretty much you're just you're looking at what issues that the participants had, and you're learning how to basically take note of those issues and then what to do with those notes, basically. And so we're going to go over all of that today. It shouldn't be a crazy complicated lecture. But we'll basically go over that, and then we'll do some in-class examples just to kind of get you guys more comfortable with analyzing the data. So I think for once I actually have a presentation. So let me share my screen here. All right, so we'll start with the usability data analysis. So usability studies are only valuable if you find, prioritize, and then act on the issues. And the first step in doing so is to actually collect the data. And so basically collecting the data just deals with going through your tests, figuring out basically everything that you were looking to find. So a lot of times you're often dealing with a lot of data. So it's really important to kind of set up a system to keep all of that organized, and not only to keep it organized, but to make it more accessible to you and any other members of your team. So there are a few ways that we can do this. And basically the easiest way is to actually create like a little spreadsheet and to keep all of this organized inside of the spreadsheet. So here's the information that you'd want to include on the spreadsheet. So here's an example of a spreadsheet used from like just to give an example of what it looks like to organize all this data. So you'll notice the first thing that you'll have is some type of identification system. And so that ID system can be done any kind of way that helps you to remember that issue. And so for this example, you notice that each issue is labeled with a numeric system. So just 1, 2, 3, ID 1, 2, and 3. You can label those however you want. You can do an ABC system. You can do a 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, all the way down to, however many issues come up during a usability test. And so the second thing that you'll want to have is a location. So basically, where did this issue happen? Was it on a specific screen? Was it on like a module? Like where within the test did this issue occur? The third thing that you're going to want to have is know the task the user was engaging with. So pretty much having the task set up as well. So, so for this example, the user was logging in, or the login using social network is where is the task that the user was asked to complete. On the second and third issues, you'll see that issues came up when they were asked to create a post, just for this example. The fourth thing that you're going to want to have is a concise description of the issue. So in the first example, you see that the They didn't recognize the Twitter option, so that was the description of that issue. For the second one, the example here says that it took more than 3 seconds to find the add post option. So that was the issue there. And then the third issue, the description says they struggled to find the options in the hamburger menu. And so then you'll basically plot all of these out on this little table, and then you'll take note if there were multiple participants that actually had the same issue. As you can see here on the right, in the participants column, participant 1 or participant 2 and 3 both found had the home screen issue with creating a post, and participant 1 and 2 both had an issue with the main menu for creating a post. So this is basically just an example of how you can keep all of this information organized within a table. And you can create this sheet in Google Sheets or Excel, or you can even use a design program if that makes you feel more comfortable. But basically, you just want to plot out all of that data just so you can see everything. And so you're only plotting out the issues. So this is all just in a way for you to identify issues within a usability test. Is this making sense so far? Any questions before I move on?
Yeah, I had a question. So the column that has your participants to the right, and they have the number 1 in there, you can use whatever symbol you want to indicate that they had an issue with this.
Right. Yeah, you can do like a tally, a dot, something. Okay. So for this one, we had, 3 participants. And so when you're logging the first issue, you'll say like participant 1 found this issue, and that's why you're plotting this first issue, right? And then if you notice for some reason that participant number 2 had the same issue, then you could also plot that participant 2 had the same issue. That way you don't have to keep plotting the same issue. You can just say like this participant found that issue. So you don't have to keep plotting the same login page issue over and over again. You'll just make note that like out of all the participants, participant 1 found this issue, and then participant 2 and 3 didn't. So their column is blank. So they're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use whatever works best for you. It can be like a little tally symbol, maybe dots, just some way for you to know that that participant had an issue with this particular task. Any other questions about this? Plotting our data. All right, so basically, after you've plotted your data, now it's time to prioritize your issues. So basically, you're going to prioritize these different issues based on their severity. So there's a few ways that you want to prioritize your issues. So the first is based upon a business impact score. So business impact score can be calculated on a severity scale of 1 through 5. 1 being little to no business impact, and 5 kind of being a high impact concern that will result in a severe profit or revenue loss. The second thing that you want to note is the frequency of the issue occurrence. So basically, to find the frequency percentage, you're going to divide the number of times that the issue occurred by the total amount of participants. So it's a little bit of math here that we're going to be doing to prioritize our issues. And the first bit of it is calculating the frequency. So remember, the frequency is just the number of times that the issue occurred divided by the number of total participants. And then the last thing is our user impact. So how much has it impacted the user trying to accomplish the task? And so again, similar to our business impact score, the user impact score also can range from a 1 through a 5, with 1 standing for it has a minimum impact on your user, so pretty much no effect or only slightly affected the user. 2 being a minor impact, so it has a minor effect on task performance. 3 is a moderate impact, so it begins to manifest as a problem or a frustration to the user. A 4 being a major impact, so it's caused substantial frustration or a delay for the user. And then the number 5 being a blocker, so the issue prevents the user from accomplishing the task that you've asked them to accomplish. Then you're going to calculate the overall severity. So you're going to take all of that information and calculate it. You're going to, by calculating each issue by multiplying the 3 variables that you've calculated. So basically, you're going to multiply the business impact score, so that 1 through 5. You're going to times that by the frequency number that you've gotten, and then you're going to multiply that by the user impact number, which would also be on a 1 to 5 scale. So here's what our updated scale now looks like. So remember, we have our ID of our issue. We still have the task that the user was asked to perform. We have the location, and we have the description. The new stuff that we've added here would be our business impact score, our user impact score, and then the frequency. And so for this first example, you'll see that the business impact score of issue number 1 is a 3, and of issue 2 and 3, they received a 5. For our user impact, for issue number 1, you'll see that that one was given a 5, where the second issue was given a 2, and the third issue was given a 3. And so then we have our frequency here, which is the number of times that it occurred divided by the number of participants. So issue 1 only occurred 1 time out of 3 participants, and so the frequency is 0.33. The second and the third one both have 2 occurrences amongst the 3 participants, so 2 divided by 3 is 0.67. And so you're going to receive an overall severity score. And so that lets you know how severe this issue is. And so to get our overall severity score, you're going to multiply this impact, business impact score by the user impact score, and then multiply that by the frequency. And so you get 3 times 5 times 0.33, which equals 5.0. Then you're going to take this one, which is 5 times 2 times 0.67, which gives us 6.7. And then the final one is a business impact score of 5 multiplied by the user impact score of 3 multiplied by 0.67, which gives us roughly 10. And so out of all of these issues, you can see that the third issue is the most severe, the second one being the second most severe, and then the third one being the least severe out of the 3. So again, a little bit of math involved here, nothing crazy. And all of these impact scores are just, pretty much just what you think, how much you think it affects your users or your business based on a 1 to 5 scale. And so that's kind of more so up to you to decide that number. Any questions about finding our severity and being able to prioritize these issues?
I think.
Would you mind explaining again how you got the frequency? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
you. Okay. Yeah. So our frequency here is just the number of times that this issue itself occurred divided by the amount of participants that you had taking this usability test. So this first issue that occurred on the login page, so the user didn't recognize the Twitter option. It happened once among 3 participants. And so you just take that one and you divide it by the number of participants. So the one time that it happened divided by the number of participants, and you get 0.33.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And, same for the second and third issues as well.
Yeah, sure. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
And did you say that the user impact, you come up with the number? Sorry, I think.
Right. Yeah, so on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 kind of being it minimally impacts your user, and 5 being it's an actual blocker, like the user can't complete the task. So think back to, remember when we did the paper prototypes and we had the user signing in using a mobile number, and I left off the submit button at the end? That would be a 5 because it's a blocker. It completely prevented the user from accomplishing that task, right? And so it's more up to you discretionary wise on like where you would rank that issue or how much it impacted the user. So thinking from minimum to being a blocker. So remember, 1 is minimal, 2 is a minor impact, 3 is moderately impacted your user, 4 is a major impact, and then 5 completely being a blocker. Any other questions? All right. Well, if no one else has any questions, then we'll jump into an example here. Just so you guys can kind of see how this actually kind of looks in practice. So I'm going to try to use the in-class assignment or the guided assignment that you guys went over yesterday with Alec. So I believe that you guys use that LW shopping app. And I think maybe it was JP that took it. Am I correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, you took it, right? Like the whole creating an account.
Oh, yes, I did take that.
Okay, cool. And I'm trying to bring up the example here so that you can have it to view as well. There it is. So this, right?
Yes, correct.
Where you have to sign in and or go to create an account. So thinking back to this example, this is what we're going to use to kind of just go back, think about what you went through when you took this JP, and like we'll actually try to plot some of the issues that you found, right? So we'll create our spreadsheet here where we have our ID, the task, We'll have our business impact. And you guys feel free to like follow along with this, like to create this spreadsheet, because this is something that you'll be using as well when you're trying to calculate the issue severity. We have our location, then the description of our issue, the user impact, and then our participants here, which we only had one for this one, so I'm only going to leave that column open for one. Our frequency, and then our overall severity score. Sorry, it sounded like someone came to my door, maybe? Okay. And so let's make all these bold just so they stand out. Okay, JP, do you remember like one of the issues that you noted when you took this?
If we're talking about the prototype, yes, I do remember. When inputting your password, you're not able to show what the password was. That was one of the prototype problems that I was seeing.
Okay, so we'll give that, we'll just name that 1. And so the task was to create an account. And the issue here, user was unable to view password, right? So you were unable to view the password when you clicked on password. So participant 1. Let's see. I'm trying to think, how severe would I say that would be on a scale of 1 to 5? Probably say at least a 3. What do you think, JP? Like it moderately affected you?
I would say a 3 because sometimes you can be certain that you've typed it right, and sometimes you're not certain. So probably a 3.
And it kind of gave you some frustration that you weren't able to see it, right?
Yes, correct.
All right. So we'll say 3. Business impact, it could possibly impact the business just as much, maybe a little bit less. So we'll say a 2. The location of this was on the, we'll say the create account screen. All right. So now we have all of this information. And so let's just say, for example, we had more than one participant. So let's say we had 2 participants here. Well, we can just keep it with 1. We'll just say with our 1 participant, which, you won't have just 1 participant taking a usability test. Like you'll typically have more. But for this example, we'll stick with just the 1, and that 1 participant found this issue. So our frequency is still just 1. So it's the number of participants divided by the amount of times it occurred. So it occurred 1 time amongst 1 participant. So 1 divided by 1 equals 1. And so our severity score would be our business impact multiplied by the user impact number multiplied by our frequency. And so that's 2 times 3, which is 6, times 1, which is still 6. So our severity score here is 6. Any other issues that you noted, or issues that anyone else can think of through this usability test that you guys witnessed, I believe, yesterday?
I mean, I noted yesterday that Most users know that, like, well, not everyone, but clicking the sign in will lead to creating accounts. So some people who don't know that could be mistaken that, how do I create an account? So maybe,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So let's give this ID number 2. The task is still to create an account. The description is create an account is not apparent from home screen. And so the location of this one is our home screen. And so the business impact on this one could potentially be pretty high, right? Because if users don't know how to create an account and they don't create an account, or if they become frustrated with creating an account, they may drop off or they may not shop. And so this could be really high, right? So let's give that a 5. Our user impact, I would say between a 3 or 4. What do you guys think with that one? I mean, it's not a blocker. It's not preventing them from doing the task. It's still able to if some can figure out that they can click on sign in here versus actually having like a create an account button or something. What would you guys give that for a user impact score?
I think it might depend on like the audience. So like if this app is like for a certain type of audience, they could probably know already. But for people who don't know, I think it could be like maybe a 3 in between, maybe.
Okay.
I was leaning towards 3 as well.
3? Okay, so we'll say 3 here. Again, we only have 1 participant, so our frequency, of course, is just going to be 1 again. And so now we'll calculate the severity score. So our severity of this one is our business impact, which is 5. That score multiplied by our user impact score, which is 3. So that's 15 multiplied by our frequency, which is 1, which still gives us 15. And so now with this usability test that you guys observed yesterday and that JP took, we can kind of look at the different issues that were brought up during that usability test, and we can start to prioritize these. So not having the create account button as visible to the user from the homepage has a much higher severity score than the view password not working, right? And so this part would actually take precedent over that one. So like if you're ranking your different issues on like which one to kind of address first, you would address the second issue before the first, because its severity score is a 15 versus a 6. And if you found any other issues within this usability test, you would continue to just plot them out, and then you'll get an overall score of like every single one, and then you'll just rank which one is more severe. So any questions about this? It's not super complicated. It's a little bit of math involved. So it's mostly just kind of basic multiplication and basic division. So nothing crazy. Hopefully like no one struggled crazily in math. I was okay in math. At least I like to think I was. Which I guess I probably should have become a developer, but I'm good. Any questions about how we got the score here, or using this table to get our score or to plot our different data. And this is something that you can use throughout different usability tests that you conduct.
So I don't think the math is very hard. I'm a little concerned I might lose track of like what areas I'm combining to get or multiplying together or dividing by each other in order to get like the frequency and severity score. Like I think I have it right now, but there's a chance that I may forget it when it goes to do it, especially on another day or something.
Right.
Is there going to be like a guide provided for what those are, or should I be like writing that down? Or
I mean, yeah, I would write it down, but it's this should be up in the training kit as well.
okay, cool.
Keyword being should be.
It is. I was reading it earlier.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it's there. It's there.
Confirmed that it's in our training kit. But I mean, if you want to write it down also, just so you don't forget. Yeah, frequency is just the number of times that issue occurred divided by the amount of participants. So for this one, if we would have had 3 participants and this issue only occurred 1 time amongst the 3, then of course our frequency score would be like 0.33. Or if we had 5 participants and it occurred 3 times, it would be whatever 3 divided by 5 is, which, pulling out my calculator here, is 0.6. So 0.6. That's if this first issue occurred 3 times amongst 5 different participants. So that's how you calculate the frequency. And then the severity score is just our frequency multiplied by the user impact score multiplied by the business impact score. So you're just multiplying all the different scores that you've gotten. Does this make sense so far? I think the hardest part is trying to decide what number to associate with the user impact and the business impact. Just trying to decide, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much did it impact your user, or how much is it going to impact or could impact your business. I think, to me, that would be the hardest part, trying to decide, just like we were trying to decide earlier, like a 3 versus a 4, which one do you give it? All right, well, if there are no other questions, I'll let you guys take a quick break. Take like a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and I will break you guys into groups, and we're going to try to do a quick usability test and come up with like a kind of a spreadsheet like we just did here, just using Amazon.com. And so I'll have one of you guys, I'll break you guys into groups of 4 with, I think, one group of 3. And we'll have one of you just kind of be the facilitator. So you'll come up with 2 tasks for your user to complete just on Amazon.com. And so it can be any task that you want them to complete. And then we'll have one of you guys actually be the participant to complete the task. And then the other person or 2 that's left will be the observer / note taker. So you'll kind of take notes of what issues arise. Yeah, take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll give that a shot. And yeah, we'll see how you guys do with kind of creating your own analysis of a user test. All right. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna break you guys into groups, and so and I'll let you guys decide who wants to be the facilitator of the usability test, who wants to be the participant, and then who just wants to be the note taker or note takers. And yeah, I want you to use just Amazon.com. So facilitator, whichever one of you decides to be the facilitator, take some time to kind of go through Amazon.com and give your participant just 2 tasks to complete on there. And then run through the test with them. And so take notes on like what issues that they come up with while completing that task. So let me create the rooms here.
Sorry, what were we having people do a user test of?
For this
like
one?
Yeah, like which prototype are we using?
We're just going to use Amazon.com. We're just going to go on Amazon.com and just find
okay.
like 2 tasks through that one, just because, you know, it's a already fleshed out website. So much easier to do it that way than to try to create a prototype and, you know, go through it with finding different issues or tasks and whatnot. So facilitator, whoever you are for each group, pretend like you work for Amazon right now. Okay. That's who you're working for. And so you're conducting a usability test for whatever 2 tasks that you want your participants to complete.
Brandon, would you mind sharing like the screenshots for all the headings that you used when you created the sheets, so that I'd have something to reference, like put it on Slack or something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So someone is a participant, and what was the other one?
So one of you will be a facilitator. So you're the one that's working for Amazon that's going to conduct the usability test. One of you guys will be a participant, and then the others will just be note takers. So they'll be taking notes of the different issues that come up.
Okay, got it.
And then once you're done, you all can work together to create, like, you know, the analysis chart that we just did.
Okay.
All right, so I'm about to open the rooms, and again, you guys decide who plays what role. I'll give you all about 20 minutes to complete the whole thing. So facilitator, whoever is going to be the facilitator, kind of take some time to just go through Amazon real quick and figure out what you want the task to be, and then perform the usability test. And myself and the TLs will pop in some of the rooms periodically just to see if you guys have any questions or for us. So yeah, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and break you guys out. So I'll give you guys about 20 minutes. So until I don't know what time it is where everyone is. So 20 minutes from now. I'll also post the I'll do a screenshot of like the different labels that I had as well for the spreadsheet. All right, rooms are open. You guys